a DNA test with the short Dora the Explorer wig. We had conversations with this woman like, I don't got time for this. I don't give a about none of this. I don't give a about a little Scrappy, a Mama D.
You definitely give a about that. So you wouldn't have had.
I'm referring to shocking DNA findings, sinister family secrets, and shocking revelations that will cause you to reconsider everything you believe to be true about Scrappy and Shakira's romance. All will be revealed by Scrappy.wishes. To see Shakira's DNA report, but why now, then? Is he under pressure from his domineering mother, Mama D? Or is there a more sinister force at work? Don't you think it's a lot worse than that barbaric man who has been outspoken about the baby's father? What secrets is Shakira hiding that once confident Scrappy is now questioning? Considering that he's been dragged into a storm that might ruin everything he's worked so hard to build, this goes beyond a simple DNA test. It's about trust, treachery, and a family at its most vulnerable point. Listen carefully because you won't believe what follows. One of the most startling revelations in reality TV history will be shown too. Viewers, but trust me when I say that this isn't your average scandal. We've all heard the tales, seen the drama, and now the situation with Scrappy's DNA test will only get more complicated. To remind you, Scrappy has played a significant role in Atlanta's hip-hop and romance scenes. It's time for a mansion full of lies to be hit by the truth. It's like a wrecking ball. What happens when the drama isn't only for the cameras, but also for the family? A man who seems to draw trouble and contentious storylines is present. What happens if Scrappy and Shakira, whom he has supported openly for years, turn out to be a complete failure? Hold on tight, for we will be going into great length on this subject. To what extent are these two well-known? Everything appeared picture perfect at first glance. A happy ending seemed to be in store for Shakira and Scrappy, the dream team. A reality TV couple with a child. However, if you've been living with Scrappy, this is where things get nasty because, let's face it, Mama D isn't exactly known for staying quiet about his personal life. Although Shakira has stood behind Scrappy no matter what, their relationship has never been easy. Fans, co-stars, and even the general public have been asking for months whether the baby is actually Scrappy's. How much pressure would be placed on someone in his position? A few whispers and suspicions were the innocent beginning of the paternity dispute, sporadically. But what began as innocuous gossip soon escalated into a major family conflict. Since Shakira had already helped him, they were a family, and they had a child together. Why keep spreading these rumors? The dedicated man kept ignoring these issues. But when the demand increased, Storing, especially from Mama D, Scrappy started to question everything when he started thinking about doing a DNA test. Let's be honest though, his concerns were sparked by more than simply Mama D's remarks. They were sparked by the quiet times he spent with Shakira. In actuality, Shakira wasn't precisely the issue was resolved by remaining silent and brushing off questions about the baby's paternity whenever they came up. Let's be honest, in these kinds of circumstances, it's sometimes more lethal to remain silent than to speak. Even though he didn't want to, Scrappy sensed that something wasn't quite right. But ultimately, these persistent questions turned into serious worries that he was being tricked and that his own heritage was being investigated, just by Mama D, but also by the woman he loved. The man thought, maybe I'm just overthinking this. So he made snap decisions and caused a stir. Even worse, it was hard to ignore the fans on social media during the show's showing, and they weren't doing anything to assist. They were scrutinizing every exchange and look, wondering whether Shakira was the loyal friend. Scrappy thought she was. The trouble is that Shakira wasn't just avoiding the issues. Rather, she was making them worse by concealing her activities, which, when combined with Scrappy's own anxieties, increased suspicion. The story is more complicated than what we've seen thus far. What occurs when now furthermore the initiator didn't mince words? She didn't trust Shakira. When Scrappy finally breaks the silence, she doesn't make matters any easier by telling her son directly, you need to take a DNA test. Because of the followers, who were all speculating online and suddenly torn between his loyalty to Shakira and his mother's insistence on the truth, Scrappy ultimately decided to have DNA testing done, not only to identify her biological father, but also to have everything thoroughly investigated. He thought he understood his family and his relationship, not just about the child, but also about loyalty, trust, and the destructive force of secrets that had been eating away at Scrappy from the inside out. For Scrappy, the test was just the start of a period of reckoning. He had to write since he had already made up his mind to believe Shakira. But because Mama D was always telling him to behave morally, Scrappy began to see the paternity test as more than a straightforward test. It was a huge unraveling on the horizon. It's an assessment of his commitment to his family and his future. Even though the stakes are enormous, before we discuss what will happen next, what if the test showed that all of his presumptions were incorrect? How would that impact his relationship with Shakira and Mama D? Let's take a moment to reflect on what we just spoke about. Scrappy's life was in a state of chaos. He had a tense relationship with Mama D and struggled to stay faithful to Shakira. All of a sudden, he started to question whether this was all a lie or if it was true. You should reconsider if you thought that Scrappy and Shakira's hatred could be any worse. Could the findings of the DNA test really change what Scrappy thought? He knew just when you thought that all would be settled with a straightforward test. The plot of Little Bo takes a dark turn when it is discovered that the DNA test Scrappy agreed to was intended to expose a web of lies, secrets, and emotional betrayal, not just to provide an explanation, but also to destroy the basis of their relationship. In fact, when the rumors first started, no one paid any attention. As is typical in the reality TV world, fans and cast members asked one another if the child was indeed Scrappy's. But the whispers soon became more ominous and frightening. This simple rumor turned into a full-fledged family drama that threatened to upend Scrappy's life due to pressure from the public, fans, and, most importantly, Mama D, the man who had previously supported Shakira, was now starting to worry about everything. It wasn't just the rumors. Was a quiet. The DNA test was more than simply a paternity test because of Shakira's actions, which included evading questions about the child's paternity, and Scrappy couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that she was hiding something, which is hard to ignore when it keeps you up at night. The following was the public's reaction to the loyalty test, which identified those who were truly telling the truth and those who were harboring secrets. When the accusations began to spread via social media, the story was no longer just about the DNA test. Anonymous claims that Shakira had already cheated on Scrappy, whether true or not, fueled the fires. And the situation descended into turmoil, according to a person with knowledge of the situation, who understandably wishes to remain anonymous. Shakira's acts had been a continual red sign for months, and now that he was in the spotlight, he had to deal with the most critical critics in the world. He didn't believe any of it. Unreported hangouts with pals, late-night outings, and vague stories about how her devotion and love had kept her going, but he couldn't deny the rumors as they spread. And that's when the real surprising information surfaced. It appears Shakira had been linked to a number of other people, or more precisely, a number of guys. Shakira allegedly had a less than perfect background. She dated other men while dating Scrappy. As the allegations spread, it became increasingly clear whether this was a genuine love tale or simply another incident of deceit and adultery hidden behind the glamorous exterior of reality TV. As further details emerged, Scrappy's fans flocked to social media to voice their outrage, asking how could she have done this to him, not ready to acknowledge that Shakira, the woman who, however, the drama was far from over. Staffy looked so kind and loyal on TV, but he was capable of such dishonesty. As the evidence grew, his reputation took significant damage. Some claimed he should have known better. How could someone so successful in the public eye have missed all the indications? according to family reports, Mama D made the decision to manage things herself. It should be noted that Mama D had never been hesitant to express her ideas. But she started to exercise control by behaving more like the domineering mother than she typically did. Mama D had consistently been a contributing factor, and she wasn't, merely pressuring Scrappy to take the DNA test. She was purposefully forcing him to confront Shakira's past. At this point in time, Scrappy's life was in full swing, and he had to decide between his need for information and his loyalty to Shakira. Scrappy's faith in Shakira was being tested in the most brutal way possible as he was forced into a corner. And the DNA test was scheduled for the day of the relationship because, despite his emotional commitment to the partnership, the pressure from his mother and the expectations of the public made it nearly impossible to ignore the truth any longer. The public was already split, with some being loyal to Scrappy in the hopes that the test would clear up any confusion and others having doubts. As interest grew, supporters eagerly anticipated the test results. Let's talk about something else. Unnamed insiders claim that Shakira had been bracing herself for the worst and knew the truth was imminent. She was also bracing herself for the impact as the controversy was becoming too large to ignore and public figures were starting to weigh in. Celebrity gossip columns, rival reality stars, and news websites began to comment on the topic. Some thought Scrappy was just another man in a toxic relationship, while others feared his domineering mother was taking advantage of him. Some even remarked Scrappy's own intentions and actions were also being scrutinized, as if to imply that Shakira's questionable past was not just her own. The test results were now the product of mounting pressure, and there had been accusations of heated arguments and secret threats in the text exchanges between Scrappy and Shakira. As everyone waited for Scrappy to finally get the answers he had been seeking, the anxiety was almost palpable. Would Shakira be cleared of all accusations, or would the test confirm his darkest suspicions? The time is approaching, so get comfortable. We have already seen the growing animosity between family members, the allegations, the murmurs, and the battle for trust. And now we will see the dramatic consequences that will change everything for Scrappy, Shakira, and everyone involved as a result of the DNA results. Repercussions of these discoveries. And trust me when I say you won't believe what follows. What happened next? Did the test establish Scrappy's paternity, or did it cause unanticipated strife within their family? When Scrappy's worst fears were validated by the test results, suspicions, and the outcome was not what he had anticipated. It wasn't his child. Yes, Shakira's child wasn't truly his. The news came as a huge shock to him. He had defended Shakira for months in order to stop the rumors. But now that the awful truth was out, he was devastated. The test results were a complete stomach hit, and not only did Shakira's response fall short of his expectations, but Scrappy was initially at a loss for what to do. His love, his family, and his future were all collapsing before his very eyes. "I didn't want it to happen this way," Shakira stated in a weak voice. "But in reality, I wasn't sure that was how I wanted it to happen." She hadn't meant it to be this way, but once the secret was out, there was no going back. "I didn't want to hurt you, but I wasn't sure." Scrappy was shocked when the exam confirmed what we both should have known all along, feeling as if his heart were being ripped out of his chest. And everything fell apart in a flash after he had defended her and trusted her. What was terrible? Though was the Mama D, Scrappy's original inspiration for the DNA test, was smiling while she was there, saying, "You see, son, I told you," in a comforting and relieved tone. "You had to confront the reality that she wasn't who you thought she was." And even though he wanted to shout and be angry about how unjust everything was, Scrappy knew that Mama D was right for all of her interference and for telling him the truth. He glanced at his mother curiously, wondering whether this was the feeling he was supposed to have. Truth, even though he didn't want to hear it. Let's now talk about the legal implications of all of this turmoil. Lawyers were already investigating the matter, ready to step in if there were any financial repercussions. So you can bet your last dollar that this scandal didn't stay on reality TV in the end. This was about parental rights and Scrappy's child's future, not just a strained relationship, which is why the paternity announcement caused controversy. This was because Scrappy had been involved in the child's life for a long time, even though the child wasn't his, and this may lead to a court battle, in addition to the public outcry. There were rumors of business deals being canceled, sponsorships going missing, and public personalities splitting ways. And the once loved reality TV star Scrappy was now embroiled in a political maze. The dispute concerned visitation or custody rights. Scrappy's career was now in doubt following a major setback. When he met with Shakira after the devastating discoveries, he asked whether he could ever trust the reality TV world, for appearances are everything. Shakira apologized for the betrayal and was obviously distressed, but it didn't seem like her words were getting through. She was trying to make things work. Scrappy apologized, but would they be able to mend their relationship? Her sadness was too deep to be new. He wanted to forgive Mama D, even though he knew the hurt had been done, because he wasn't sure if she would help him get through this new stage of his life, or if she was already preparing for the next family drama. There was no doubt that Mama D would influence Scrappy's future choices, now that the DNA results are in and his world has completely changed. Does this mean that Scrappy will eventually take control of his relationships and life? Or will Mama Da's influence both through his own feelings and the lingering shadow of his mother's influence continued to dictate his decisions? Because the impact is just beginning, we would want to hear your thoughts on Scrappy's decision to demand for his relationship with Shakira. What does this mean? Is this the end for them? Or will they ever be able to repair what has been damaged? What about Mama D? In this convoluted story, is she the protagonist or the antagonist? Was Shakira correct to use the DNA test? Or did he merely create the conditions for a complete catastrophe? If you believe that this drama is just going to get worse, please let us know in the comments area below. And remember to use the like button. We'll always give you the truth, no matter how sloppy it may be, which is why you started subscribing to keep up with all the surprising reality TV scandals and behind-the-scenes rumors. We'll keep you updated on what's truly going on behind the scenes, since this story is far from over. Stay tuned for more developments. As always, thank you for watching. And be on the lookout for circumstances that could drastically change the life of Scrappy, Shakira, and their family.